G'day everyone, my name's Chris. Today I'm going to show you guys a map that I've made in Trainz Railroad Simulator 2006. This is my Sydney Metropolitan Rail Network map, and it's an expansion of my old map. Actually, it's a completely different map because my last map was congested with trees and objects and towns and cities, things that really aren't really important to the track itself, the train track itself. So I've basically cut down on all the objects around and made the track, signals, track objects, and anything within these fences pretty much a priority. I've started the map here at Emu Plains. I live at Penrith, so I board trains all the time from Penrith towards Central, and every now and then to Lithgow, which is over the Blue Mountains. So I decided to start the map from here. We're currently at the western side of the Penrith controlled area, which is on the west side of Emu Plains railway station. And beyond this point you climb into the Blue Mountains, where you go through Lapston, Glenbrook, so yeah, a lot of other railway stations in the Blue Mountains. So I've started here so that I can expand into the Blue Mountains at a later date. Currently I've been working on this map for 4 years, so it's starting to clock up its hours. Okay, so this is the beginning of the Penrith controlled area coming down the mountain. We have here the accept signal into the Penrith controlled area, which is simply just a home signal. And we continue through Emu Plains, and then we reach Emu Plains Station. Here's our first junction. If you know trains, you'll know that you have to put junctions in. Here is our first junction. It's a catch point. And with catch points, you can use junctions for catch points. I've called it 0001 because I pretty much go into the thousands with junctions because there's so many of them. Here at Emu Plains Station, you'll notice these are guardrails on elevated track, which is a bridge. I put guardrails on anything that's elevated simply because if it's there in real life, I want to have it there, and if it's not, well, there's no reason why it shouldn't be, so it's there. With most stations, you'll notice I've got guard indicators as well, which if for those that don't know, a guard indicator is to tell a station controller to not signal the train to close its doors if the signal in front of the train is at stop, because if the signal's at stop, the doors will close and the train cannot proceed. So I put guard indicators on those stations. It's a guard's responsibility, or a train guard's responsibility, to make sure that the doors of the train don't close if the train is not ready to leave, but may be expected to leave. Okay, so there's Emu Plains Station. Emu Plains Station is a station that is the last stop on the Western Line before climbing into the Blue Mountains, so a lot of passenger services terminate at Emu Plains, and then the trains that stop here will return back to the city, or back to Penrith where there's a yard. So that be the case, trains have to be able to return on the correct track. So after the station we have these crossovers, and I've labelled them 0002, 0003, 004, 005. This is an example of a little loop crossover. So there you go. Right, let's go through to Penrith. So at this point we have single colour signalling, which is shows a single aspect. For example, this shows caution, and which means the next signal is expected to be at stop. So here we are at Penrith it's Penrith Yard, but there's a station immediately after, Penrith Railway Station, and what we have here is a down yard, some down sidings, an up yard, some up sidings, and a down yard. And what happens, a lot of trains will stay here in off-peak times when they're not needed, and then start their journey to wherever they've got to go in more peak hour times or busier times. And at this point, at the beginning of the yard, you'll notice we have a signal that allows a train to move into the yard. But then immediately after that signal, you'll see here it says end single light indication. This is because we now go from single colour aspect signalling to double colour aspect signalling, and that is because the frequency of trains now increases as we get towards the city. More trains will terminate along the line at spaces between Sydney and Penrith, so because of that, the frequency of trains after those stations where trains terminate starts to lower. Because of that, the train tracks are not as busy, trains can travel further apart, and so double colour signalling is not necessarily needed. So we use single colour signalling between Penrith and Emu Plains. Alright, we'll travel through Penrith Yard here, and you'll see we have Penrith Station. At Penrith Station, we have here an island platform and a curbside platform. Penrith Station is very important because a lot of train services will terminate at Penrith, where then those trains can either go into the sidings here or go into the downyard. Alternatively, a train can terminate here on platform 1, move into the shunting neck, and then move into the upyard. So there you go, that's just a couple of things that happen at Penrith. Another thing is, because you've got these yards, trains can begin their journey towards the city on any one of these 3 tracks, which is great when there's no freight trains moving through the Penrith controlled area, because then it allows passenger services to facilitate all these tracks and take off one after another. So there you go, that's Penrith Station. Let's continue past Penrith Station, and you'll see on the right we have a loop, and that's just used for trains that are about to either shunt into Penrith Yard or allow freight train to pass. Here's Kingswood Station, and at this point I'll just let you know we've left the Penrith controlled area. We now have permissive 5 aspect signals, which are all controlled by track circuitry. Here we are at Warrington Station. It's very similar to Kingswood Station, and you'll see that I've made a little village up the top there, which is quite obviously the village of Warrington, so you can see how it makes the station important. It gives the station a bit of importance. Now at this point I'll let you know we go into the St Mary's controlled area, and at this point you'll see we have a 5 aspect home signal. This is the accept signal with a sign plate that says that trains are not to proceed without authority from a signaller. And at this point you'll see we have like swampland and a low-lying railway track flown above the swamp. Here we are coming into St Mary's railway station, and you'll see that we have a branch line joining in from the left. This is the Ropes Creek branch. So what I'll do is I'll take you to the station where you can see we open up to 4 tracks, and I'm going to turn the camera around. Alright, I'm just going to lock my position here so that we can come back. And now we're going to travel down the Ropes Creek branch. Now the Ropes Creek branch no longer exists. It's simply just a couple of shunting necks or sidings with a couple of shunting necks, and they stop at around this point here before a creek. But back in the day, the branch line went all the way to Ropes Creek, so now I have rebirthed it so that people can see what it used to look like, more or less. So here we have the Dunheved Recycling Centre, so it's got its own siding. We cross Dunheved Road and we come around to Dunheved Station, which is in a east-west direction. At Dunheved Station you'll notice we have a small yard on the side there. It's our Dunheved Down Yard. It's got 4 tracks and it starts from back here, so these crossovers allow trains to move from the down yard back onto the branch line. And you'll notice here that there is mechanical levers in the yard, but then to get onto the branch line you'll see we have a signal that authorises a track movement, a shunting movement from the yard onto the branch line. So there you go, that's the down yard at Dunheved Station. Here at the end you'll see we join back onto the Dunheved branch, the Ropes Creek branch line, and once again leaving the yard we have an electric catch point and a signal that permits trains to pass and enter the branch line with a shunting movement. So there you go. So let's travel down the branch line. Those crossovers are self-explanatory. They allow trains to move into the yard. Alright, so this is Cochrane Railway Station, very similar to Kingswood or Warrington, it's just on the track. You'll notice too that we don't have guard indicators because the train can pretty much leave and travel at a very low speed until it gets here. So now we enter the Ropes Creek controlled area, and here we are at Ropes Creek with one island platform. And you'll notice past Ropes Creek we have some sidings and a small yard on the downside and some shunting necks. So there you go. So let's now travel back to St Mary's. Here we are again at St Mary's. You'll see I've just recalled my location where we were before we went to Ropes Creek. We're facing Penrith, and you'll notice we have on these 4 platforms signals that allow running movements from the station in both directions. You'll notice we have every track facilitated with double colour running movement signals. The reason for that is trains can leave either of these train track platforms and travel through a number of crossover points to end up on the correct track. And then at this point you'll see if we face Sydney, you'll see we go from 2 tracks to 4. And the main reason for this is the frequency of rail traffic increases now as St Mary's allows terminating services. So because of that, those terminating services add to the amount of trains we have on the network, so we need to have more train tracks for that. Here you'll see we have the same situation. We have running movement signals on every single platform that allow trains to move in the easterly direction towards Sydney. Quite simply, this junction here is to allow trains from the mainline track to move over onto the suburban track. So what this is on the outside we have from the left up main, up suburban, down main. Very simple. We go from 2 tracks to 4, and ahead of us you'll see we have the 2 up directions on the left and the 2 down directions on the right. So let's continue on. We're up to about junction 83 now. Here, a little further up, we have Placer Australia, which is a private owned company that looks after maintenance vehicles on the railway track on the railway. So to get into that yard we have locked points. The reason why they're locked is because they do not connect with the track circuitry, so any railway signals that show a proceed signal here are basing that on anything else that is not a mechanical point, because obviously if this was set out then this obstruction or hazard would not be monitored by any computer, and then the signal would not be able to detect it. So unless there's special track conditions, these signals will only work, this one particular and this one particular, they will only work accurately if this is locked. So for it to be locked, it will be locked in the straight position. So that's Placer Australia right there. There's your little tiny yard thing that I've made. And we now leave the St Mary's controlled area and head towards Blacktown. So up ahead here we have Mount Druitt Railway Station. Again, like Warrington, it's just on the train track, so it's just kind of there. No junctions or anything like that. And beyond Mount Druitt you'll see we have here Rooty Hill. And beyond Rooty Hill we keep going and we have Doonside. So here's Doonside Railway Station, and a little bit different, I've kind of put it in a gorge kind of environment so I could have this bridge. Anyway, now we're very close to Blacktown. You'll see here that we now have some accept signals or out of home signals as they're badged. And these are the first signals or starting signals into the Blacktown controlled area. And you'll see that because they're an absolute signal, the top aspect is directly above the bottom one. So when this says stop, you must stop and not proceed. So there you go, and so we're going to go into Blacktown. You'll notice that we will come up to a couple of home signals. These home signals protect hazards. We also have some little shunting signals with stencils. And the reason why we have that is rail traffic can come down these down tracks, stop, and then change direction and shunt over to other tracks. And that's basically what the shunting signals are for. These running movement signals, they're obviously a little more important because they're used 100% of the time for rail traffic travelling in the up direction. And not very often do trains have to shunt from down directional tracks here back up. So these ones here will give an aspect that allow trains to move over into a loop we have on the left side of the track here. I'm not sure what its title is, but it would, in my head, sound correct to say that it's Blacktown Loop, because there's only one black loop in the Blacktown controlled area, or there's a couple, but this is the main one. And it sits on the left side of the up main track, so it's a bi-directional track. And here we come into Blacktown, and you'll notice we have on the main line 5 platforms. The first platform here, which is actually platform 3, and just quickly, the reason for that is over on the far left we have the Richmond branch, their platforms 1 and 2. Here we have platform 3 to 7. Platform 3 is on the loop, as you would notice as we travelled down. And the next we have is up main, same at St Mary's, then up suburban, same as St Mary's, down suburban and down main. Okay, so past Blacktown station, you'll see the Richmond branch joins in to the main line here, or when I say joins in, it runs parallel with the 4 mainline tracks. As we travel further, you'll see we have crossovers, which allow trains that are travelling from Sydney to cross over and go onto the Richmond branch line. However, that's not really convenient when you've got a lot of rail traffic, so what they've gone and done is design a flyover. This flyover is a down direction, which means rail traffic from Sydney will move off the main line onto the flyover track right here, and then go straight over and join on to, well, it's where it begins as the Richmond branch. So there you go. More convenient than using crossovers. And the up directional track from the Richmond branch joins here with the up main track of the main line. So there you go. Very simple. So here we are at Seven Hills, and this is technically where the Richmond branch starts. So I've turned the camera around. I'm going to lock my position. And now we're going to travel up the Richmond branch. So to travel up the Richmond branch in a normal condition, if you're travelling on the down mainline track, you will have to go straight here. Okay, so here we go, straight here. And so if you were to bypass and continue into Blacktown station, you would go around the flyover on the very left side. But if you're going to Richmond and you're on the mainline track, you will continue going straight here, and you will go over the flyover like that. If you are coming from the down suburban track, well, it's almost the same thing. You travel down suburban, and then you take this crossover 122, and once again, you're ready to go over the flyover. Let's take the flyover, and you'll notice that now the Richmond branch is here on the right hand side of the main line. This is the best image because you can see where it veers to the flyover. Here are our crossovers that allow trains to move across to the Richmond branch, and you'll notice here as we veer to the right to platforms 1 and 2, platform 3 is accessible from the Richmond branch, and the reason why is this little straight piece of track here links the down Richmond to the loop at Blacktown platform 3. So that's how trains will normally get to Blacktown platform 3 from Sydney without using these crossovers right here. Okay, here we are at Blacktown station once again, and we're facing northwest, and we have here a couple of sidings on the right and platforms 1 and 2. Now, every part of the Richmond branch is bi-directional, and gradually they're duplicating all the single parts, all the single track sections. So because it's not all done, it's still all bi-directional. There's no reason to have it all just one way per track just yet. So it's still signalled as a bi-directional branch line, even though there's loops at various parts. Okay, so, and what I mean by that are the loops are also bi-directional. So you'll see what I mean shortly. Here we have, coming around heading north, we have Blacktown stabling facility, which is a small yard where trains can be stabilised or stored in off-peak times. And past the yard you'll see it join onto the branch line. We continue down the branch line, I should say, because the towards Richmond is the down direction, and from Richmond is the up direction, because it's up towards central and down is away from central. Okay, so here we are at our first station on the branch line, Marion, and yes, it's still 2 tracks. We continue past Marion railway station, through the country, which in real life is actually quite country, and you'll see we have some crossovers. Once upon a time, this is where the track went to a single bi-directional track, and they've left these crossovers in. Here at our next station, this is Quakers Hill. I might just load the map up in the bottom left there. You can see how this is all working. From Quakers Hill, we veer around and arrive at the next station, which I believe is Schofield's. Okay, so there's again more crossovers, because once again, beyond this point was once upon a time bi-directional single track, but yes, it's been duplicated at Schofield's, so because of that the crossovers have been left in. And here at Schofield's you'll see that we have the track joined to one. Let's continue past Schofield's and we'll get to our next station, which is I think Riverstone. So here's Riverstone, or Riverstone, and again, look, I've made a little village there just to give some significance to the station. We have here, Riverstone used to have a factory or something that was accessible by rail, but at these days it's not, and what we have left is a siding that comes from the branch line. Now with Riverstone you can see we have a loop on either one of these tracks can be considered a loop, because it allows trains to overtake in the opposing direction. But the siding here is on the down directional part of the loop. So you can see here, it's just a small loop that has points that are locked. For obvious reasons, they're not motorized or connected to the computer system, so the signals would not respond to that junction, so they're locked so that no mistakes can happen. Particularly if somebody was to come and flick that lever, so that they'd lock them. They actually physically lock them. Okay, beyond Riverstone we go back to single track and we travel until we get to a very simple station called Vineyard. Here is Vineyard, very very small station, and it's very very much needed because there's a lot of houses and suburbs around that are not highly populated, but Riverstone is very but Vineyard is very central to all those areas, so Vineyard is right here. That's why I haven't got a town for Vineyard, because the towns are expected to be on the direction of where those roads are going, so there you go. Past Vineyard we travel to Windsor, I think it is. Oh no, I'm wrong, it's not Windsor, it would be Mulgrave. So this is Mulgrave. And again, it's like Riverstone, it has it splits to 2 tracks to allow rail traffic in opposite directions to overtake each other. And then we continue past Mulgrave, and now we get to Windsor. It's a bit of a hike to Windsor from Mulgrave, And here you go, it's like Vineyard, it's just a small single platform on the bi-directional track. Let's keep going. Past Windsor we get to, here we go, another 2 tracks. And we have here Clarendon, and with 2 curb platforms, which of course you can access by the level crossing. So yes, that's very simple, very countryish, very much something I like to see when I see trains. And afterwards we immediately go back to a bi-directional single track. Here we are at East Richmond. In my last video I said North Richmond. North Richmond railway station no longer exists. It used to exist when the train line ran to Currajong, but at that point there was a lot of weather for the short time that train line existed, and the railway was destroyed past Richmond Station. So the North Richmond railway station no longer exists, and I don't believe there's any traces of it left, just a bunch of photos. So yep, we continue past East Richmond, and here we are at Richmond railway station. So there you go, that's Richmond. We have here 2 terminating platforms, and so it's 1 island platform, and a little siding on the left, which once upon a time would have been for steam trains. But yes, it's not used anymore, and because of that we have a couple of levers which are locked for the same reason as Riverston's siding. Locking these allow mean that we don't have any issues with the signals messing up. And because of course if the points were turned outwards and the signal said proceed straight ahead, well of course the train would veer off onto the siding, and you'd at this point be wondering why. So yeah, so there you go, that's why they lock them. Again, in special track movements they can unlock them, basically turn off the signals and have authority from a signaller. So that's how that works. So we are now going to go back to Seven Hills. Here we are at Seven Hills at the beginning of the branch line to Richmond. Let's turn the camera back around and let's just sort of touch base again on what we have here. We're on the Western line heading towards Central. So we have up Main, up Suburban, down Main. These red markers are not directional markers, they're actually programmable markers for when you tell a train to go somewhere. Now, I can tell a train to go to Seven Hills up Main or Seven Hills up Suburban from Penrith, and it will stop right there. If I wanted to be more technical, I could have it set for 8 car and move the marker closer this way for a 6 car, and even more closer for a 4 car. But what's the point, seriously? Anyway, yeah, so okay, so let's continue on. I might load the map there so we can see exactly what's going on here. Past Seven Hills, we leave the Blacktown controlled area, and I might get rid of the map, it makes the map load a bit faster. And we cruise on past Seven Hills, out of the Blacktown controlled area to either Pendle Hill or Toongabbie. Maybe it was better I had the map there. It's Toongabbie, yep. And then past Toongabbie we have Pendle Hill, very much like Toongabbie, and which is also very similar to Mount Druitt or Rudy Hill or Doonside. And then we continue past this station and go to Wentworthville. So here's Wentworthville, and yeah, the name barely fits on the signpost, but you know what, that's fine. I'm sure people get the idea. Here's the little town of Wentworthville. I've tried to make it nice and countryish. Cool. Okay, so past Wentworthville we now enter another controlled area, interlocking area, the Granville interlocking area, and I've gone too far ahead because this is where the accept signals are. GE 474 and 476 are your first controlled or absolute signals into the Granville controlled area on the main Western line heading east. And as we come into Westmead, you'll see here that it's a bit like Toongabbie in that it has just 4 platforms, 2 island platforms. But beyond the station here we have some crossovers. They kind of look like an X. What we have here is junctions that allow trains to move across from the main line to the suburban line, and vice versa up ahead. And the same thing happens on the down directional tracks. Now, the reason why we have this is it all ties together with a triangle junction at Granville. And what I'll do is I'll explain how this works. Here at Westmead Station we have up main, up suburban, down main. We have 4 tracks here. When we get to a triangle junction, that means that trains can go left or right, and from any one of those points in the triangle, trains can go left or right. Now, when we come up to a triangle junction with 4 tracks, if we're going to go left, well, that's great. These 2 up tracks will go to the left. If we want to go right, the 2 up directional tracks have to cross the down directional tracks. There's no way that's going to work when you have that many trains on this part of the network. So what we do is up ahead, we go past Westmead Station, and you'll notice that the up main track crosses underneath the down main and up suburban. Sorry, the up suburban and down suburban. Sorry. So the up main track, I'll say that again, crosses underneath the 2 suburban tracks and comes up here next to the down main track. So now we have an up and down track and an up and down track. Now let me re-explain this. At a triangle junction we want to be able to go left and right. Because of that, trains here, when they get to that triangle junction, can either go left or right. If they're going to go right, they'll go right from the up track on this side. If they're going to go left, they're going to go left from the up track on the left side. And if they need to, they will travel through these crossovers near Westmead. So you understand now roughly why we have that there. So here we come up to Parramatta Station, and at Parramatta Station again we have now what we call the up suburban, down suburban, then up main, down main. It's still got its same titles, but they're just configured differently as the configuration changed back inside that tunnel. So that's how that works. Past Parramatta Station, you'll notice we have here Harris Park. And Harris Park is the last station on the main Western line between Burke and Granville. So the main Western line actually starts at Burke and goes all the way to Granville. It's my understanding that the train line past Dubbo is truncated and destroyed from flooding and weather, which really is upsetting, because I think it'd be great to be able to get a train out to Burke. I don't even know what's at Burke, but basically the main Western line travels from Granville to Burke, and somewhere in the middle it branches off to the Broken Hill line, which goes right through to the New South Wales border. So here we are at the end of the Western line after Harris Park Station. And just a little further up here, you'll notice that we're now at that triangle junction. I'll load the map and you can see right here that we have trains can go to the left towards Central, or trains can go towards the right and head to Campbelltown via Liverpool. So there you go. That's the big triangle junction at Granville. So what we have here is the main part of the track veers to the left, and the right side here is treated as kind of like not a main part of the track. So it's just 2 tracks that join onto the main south line. Right here, the crossover track here, of course, is the other part of the triangle junction, which comes across here to Granville. And of course, where we were is the third part of the triangle. So as you can see here, the 4 tracks from the Western line from Harris Park Station head here in a southerly kind of direction, in veer to the left, where this is still considered the main Western line, and at this point they all join to the main South line at Granville. Okay, so we travel a little further ahead and we get to Granville station. Now I'm going to turn the camera around. No, I'm not taking us down a branch line, but I am going to lock this position. When you leave Granville and head towards Liverpool, you'll travel in this westerly direction, and you will head down these two tracks that take you to Liverpool and Campbelltown. Now, the left track here is the down directional track away from Central. There's the third part of the Granville junction, and then further up here you'll see it join to the two tracks that head towards Campbelltown. And this is where we come into Maryland's railway station. Let's disregard the siding because I'm going to take the main South line a bit differently. I'll take us down there later. So here we are coming into the triangle junction at Granville, and you'll see that we can go on the left side or take the triangle loop here. So what we have here is if a train is going to go to Granville, they will go on the left track and they will fly over and head towards Granville. But if they were to go to Harris Park or Penrith via Harris Park, they would stay on the second track, and then of course they would travel this way and not take the flyover. The track would veer to the left into the triangle junction, across Parramatta Road, and you will see here it join onto the main Western line. So there you go. Right, let's go back to Granville. So here we are at Granville station, and we are facing west. So we're facing the Blue Mountains, and so we're going the wrong way. Let's turn around. And you can see now that we are facing Central. And I'll just load the map, and you can see here that the Triangle Junction is down here behind us, and everything else is up ahead. So here at Granville, on the very right you can see a little shunting neck with a rail buffer, and that is the end of the Auburn Marshalling Yards or Clyde Marshalling Yards commissioning track. And we have here our four main tracks. Now this is where the main South Line changes its titles of the names of the tracks. So the way it works is, at Granville Station, on the far left, we have up Main, then down Main, then up Suburban, and down Suburban. Now, closer to the city, we go from 4 tracks to 6. And the train, and then quite obviously the next 2 tracks will be even more relevant closer to the city, because they are referred to as up and down local tracks. Okay, so here we are. So let's go past Granville Station. To the right we have the Clyde Marshalling Yards commissioning track, and a set of points, 241 and 239, which allow trains to travel onto that commissioning track, which is governed by shunting signals. Here we come up to Clyde Railway Station, and here at Clyde Railway Station you'll see we have the Clyde Marshalling Yards commissioning track. Pardon me. It has its own platform. I'm going to tell you right now, it's the most useless thing at the moment at Clyde Railway Station. It's also fenced off, just to add to the fact that, you know, we don't want people to think that you can get a train there. And again, because it's a commissioning track that leads into a yard. But the reason why they've put it there on the station is that one day they may actually expand the station, so they might want that to facilitate passenger trains. So there you go, that's this one over here. But Clyde Railway Station also has another main purpose. It's the beginning of the branch line that goes to Carlingford. And what I mean by that is, if I spin the camera around, I'm going to lock this position for later, and I'm going to show you now that on the very far right here we have a platform that is the sprint platform or shuttle platform for the small 3 or 4 car trains that travel to Rosehill or Carlingford. Now you'll notice here the branch line also joins onto the main line on the main up and main down tracks. This is because sometimes trains from Central will travel to Carlingford. Special services or peak hour services can travel from Carlingford and go straight to Central, and they do not have to go down this track, because beyond that track it either leads to the upper main or into Clyde Yard, which is right here. Okay, so I'm showing you the branch, so I'll show you the branch before we continue towards Clyde Yard and Clyde Stabling Facility and Marshalling Yards. So here's the branch line. We also have a siding as well, or a loop, because it joins into the yard. You can see it join into the branch line here. So here we go. Let's go down the Carlingford branch line. On the left here, you'll see we have some sidings that are not part of the signalling system, and because of that, these points have to be locked. Junction 221, in real life, it's not called that, I've called it that, but in real life, these points are locked. I'll just quickly show you what it is. It's basically this. That's what it is. Don't know what it is in real life, but that's what it is in my map. So let's travel past, and you'll see we come to the, I think they call it Parramatta signal box, I'm not quite sure. Parramatta Road signal box. This is actually Parramatta Road. I'm going to assume a long time ago it was like a dirt road, but these days it's congested in 6 lanes and needs heavy amounts of work, but then again, doesn't seem like our government's going to do anything about it, so whatever. Past Parramatta Road here, we cross whatever river or creek that is, and we travel here into Rose Hill Racecourse Railway Station and Rose Hill Railway Station. Now, the reason why the platforms are different lengths is because here at Rose Hill you can take the left track, which goes to Rose Hill Station, and then beyond that you can see it takes us further up the Carlingford branch. But if you're going to Rose Hill Racecourse, the passenger train services that go to Rose Hill Racecourse will stop here. And of course, they're not going to go to Carlingford. If you're going to go to Rose Hill Racecourse from Carlingford, well, you'll just get off here at Rose Hill Railway Station on platform 1. So because of that, beyond Rose Hill Racecourse on this platform, we have a new style track, which is very grey and dirty looking, and it veers around to the right. So here's our map. You'll see it veers around to the right, and very quickly you'll notice that it's got more to do with freight than anything. The way that it's set up, you'll also notice that we have levers instead of signals and signal boxes. So these levers here are controlled by a signaller that will walk down the track and manually adjust them. And you'll see here that we have a number of freight utility services, whatever you want to call them, and warehouses and things. This stuff all still exists, by the way. I'm not quite sure if the train line still exists, but the tracks certainly do still exist there. You'll see we have huge shunting necks for freight trains that come along to the back here near Parramatta River, and once again they join at Rose Hill Racecourse, which is around here, right here. So there you go. Now, and you'll notice too, we also have the ability to have 2 trains sitting at Rose Hill Racecourse, because we have a signal that separates the 2 blocks. Now, trains can butt up to each other with shunting movements. So even though this signal can't produce a shunting aspect, this the starting signal back here in real life, right here, will be able to show a small coacting yellow thing, which means shunt ahead, or a green low speed indicator, which indicates a train can move ahead into a block that may have a train sitting inside it. So if you have a train sitting here at Rosehill Racecourse, you can shunt towards the train, and you must stop here at this signal or before the train, literally before the train. So that's how that works. When the train ahead moves out of the way and travels down towards Clyde, the signal here, PR1012, will eventually show proceed but prepare to stop at the next signal. So it just becomes a normal running signal. There you go. Now, this was the Carlingford branch that I was showing you, so let's continue down the Carlingford branch. Past Rosehill Racecourse and Rosehill Railway Station, we have Camella. I only put them in, I don't know how to say their names. And you'll also notice too that we don't have signals anymore, and the main reason for that is the bell code is the system used in place. A train that travels to Carlingford from Rosehill has to exchange a card. It means that you can't enter this part of the track without the card. So a train that's at Carlingford will turn around, go back to Rosehill and give the card back. It's a way to stop trains from having collisions. Here's Rydalmere, which is a railway station I had to get off when I used to go to college. Here's the next station, which is Dundas. Once again, it's, there's no signals or anything. Here's our next station, Tellape. And then our last station, which is Carlingford. Now, before Carlingford, you'll see we have this here. This triangle is a location sign, but in other words, what it is it's a caution. It means disregarding any electronics or the fact there's a train ahead or anything like that. It's basically saying you better slow down and prepare to stop. And the main reason for that is it's the end of the line. So a signal that can predict caution here will say caution or stop. But because no trains can be ahead of you if you're on this part of the train line, there's no need to predict stop. So it will always say caution. And it doesn't need to be electrified for that reason, because it's never going to change. So, and if you were to go past this and it was electrified, there's no need for it to say stop, because there's no trains behind it that are going to intercept. It's not like the Richmond branch. In other words, it's not like the Richmond branch. So here we go, we're at Carlingford. So now let's go back to Clyde. Now we're back at Clyde. And what we're doing is we're facing the branch line to Carlingford, and we're also facing the main south line towards Granville. I'm going to turn the camera around and let's touch base on what we have right here. On the very left, we have a little tiny siding or loop that connects the Carlingford branch to Clyde Yard up ahead. You'll see the next track we have is platform 1, which is the shuttle platform or main platform that takes trains to Carlingford, and trains will shuttle backwards and forwards from Carlingford to Clyde on that platform. Sorry, I had a mental blank. Now the next 4 platforms are our mainline tracks, which is up main, down main, up suburban, down suburban, and the last one, which isn't used but I've made it look like it is, the Clyde Marshalling Yards commissioning track, or Auburn Stabling Facility commissioning track. So here we are, we're past Clyde Station. We have all those tracks still intact, except that because platform 1 is just for the Carlingford branch, you'll see it just joins onto the main line or can go into Clyde Yard. And up ahead here you'll see that we have to the right Clyde Marshalling Yards, and to the left Clyde Yard, which looks a lot older, has less work done to it, there's a lot of factories, whereas the one on the right is always changing constantly as they expand it. There's tracks here that don't exist in my map that I need to add, but whatever, I haven't done it yet. Wouldn't be hard, because just like in real life, they've added them and added signals. So there you go. We'll travel past all of this, and you'll see that we get what I'll do is I'll stop here and I'll show you here that we have the 4 mainline tracks and the commissioning track. As we leave all of this yard stuff at Clyde, you'll see that on the left, Clyde Yard joins in. It's all fully signalled and joins into the up main and down main. And then you'll notice that the commissioning track here is where the 2 tracks going into the Clyde marshalling yards join in. A little further ahead, you'll also notice that that commissioning track disappears and joins onto the down suburban track, and there is a shunting neck beyond that commissioning track. Somewhere between all of this, we leave the Granville controlled area and get to the Auburn controlled area, because here is the Auburn signal box. Okay, so now we're in the Auburn controlled area. Here's Auburn Station, and as you can see, we're back to 4 tracks. Thank gosh, because it's really hard to explain all of that other stuff. And past Auburn Station, we veer around on the main south line towards Lidcombe. Now, we have these crossovers here. I believe they've only been there for a couple of years. I put them in. We're already at 584 junctions. We travel past and we get to yet another triangle junction, and now I'm going to have to explain this as well. So what we have here is the main south line veers to the left and goes towards Lidcombe. One sec, I'm just stretching. Okay, sorry, just stretching. Okay, so the main south line now veers to the left, all 4 tracks, and goes towards Lidcombe Station. At this triangle junction, trains can head south towards Berrilla and Regent's Park, where they can connect to the Bankstown line, which I'll show you. But what we're going to do is I'll just show you the triangle junction. This is the link road that joins this old main south line to the main south line here. But facing the east from the main south line, we veer to the left, and as we come around, you'll see that the Lidcombe to Regent's Park line joins in here with 2 tracks. You'll also notice too that there is a siding that goes into Lidcombe Station at platform 5. So that's for trains that are travelling down to the Bankstown line to Liverpool or wherever they're going. Bankstown, I think, in particular. So that's from platform 5 at Lidcombe. Here on the left, you'll see that that same branch, technically it's a line. That line joins in at the main south line on the suburban tracks. And just at the station, you'll notice on the far left we have the Olympic Park shuttle sprint platform, and that's on the main south line as well. Now beyond the station, you'll see we have a short track on the far right that used to be a branch line that went to Rockwood Cemetery. Now that branch line no longer exists, but they've left a little bit of the track there, so you'll see that I've just put it in. And now this is where it gets very, very complicated again. I'm going to stop the train, my camera here, and explain this to you. We are not at 1 triangle junction here, we are at 2 or 3 triangle junctions here. What we have here is the joining of the Campsie to Flemington line, which is a freight line. We are also at the triangle junction for the Abattoirs branch, which allows trains to travel from the Abattoirs branch, or also known as the Olympic Park line, to Lidcombe or Flemington. And in the middle of these giant triangle junctions, we have the Flemington stabling facility and marshalling yards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you I'm going to take you for a ride down the Abattoirs branch towards Olympic Park. We'll do that first. So here on our map, you'll see the track veers here to the left, and what it is from the minute we leave the main south line, we are on the Abattoirs branch. So let's do that. Now, I also mentioned that the Aberters branch is now known as the Olympic Park line. The reason for that is the Aberters branch used to be all factories and stuff, but then the Olympics came in 2000 and it all got turned into tourism and big round stadiums. So they turned the former Aberters branch into the Olympic Park line. And the reason why it's a line is it goes in a circuit. And when it was the Aberters branch, it was a branch line with sidings, basically. So there you go. So let's go down the Aberters branch. On the very left is our sprint platform that goes to platform 0 at Lidcombe. And the Aberters branch then veers to the left, right here. As you can see, there it is, 2 tracks. And the sprint platform, which is bi-directional, joins in, and there's its crossover for up-directional traffic to travel up into the sprint platform track. So there you go, that's how that works. Now, the track that veers off to the right is the main stretch of the end of the Campsie to Flemington line. It joins here. That is the end of the this is where the T junction is for the Campsie to Flemington line. It joins at the Aberters branch, not at the main south line. The Aberters branch, because the Aberters branch comes off and then the line joins onto the branch. So we're going left. We're going to head north all the way to Olympic Park, down the Aberters branch. Now the other end of the Campsie to Flemington line is here. You'll notice that it flies underneath the main south line here, and it goes to the right if you're heading towards Flemington. Okay, so the Campsie to Flemington line comes up heading north underneath the main south line, and which heads east-west and veers to the left and joins here at the Aberters branch, where it then joins on to the main south line. The reason why I showed you all of that just then is because as you take the Aberters branch, you will notice that stretch of track from Campsie, so this Campsie to Flemington line that veers to the right, if you were to perhaps come up the Flemington to the Campsie to Flemington main railway line and you wanted to go to Olympic Park, there's your link road right there. And of course, if you wanted to enter the stretch of track, that goes to Flemington Station from Campsie, if you want to enter that stretch of track from the Aberters branch, well, of course, you could just take that crossover, that little link road there. Let's keep on the Aberters branch. Here we have the down directional track of the loop, the up directional track of the loop, and a siding in the middle. And you can see that it crosses underneath here, 2 tracks that travel in between. Now, the Aberters branch comes from Lidcombe, around the Lidcombe part of the main south line. And so if you wanted to go to Central, well, instead of going that way, you would go that way. That's the other triangle junction. So we travel towards Olympic Park, and those 4 tracks turn to 2, and you'll do the circuit of Olympic Park. So you travel this way and then you go underground, and here's Olympic Park Station. Okay, so just quickly with Olympic Park Station, it's 2 tracks but 4 platforms. People will get off on either the centre or the outside of the track, and then people will board from the opposite. So if they were to get off on the outside, they'd get on from the inside, and that's basically it. Then those 2 tracks inside the tunnel turn back to 1. You might be able to see it here. So there you go, you can see it there. The 2 tracks at the station turn to 1, because don't forget it's a circuit. So it looks like 2 tracks, but it's one that joins around in a circle and comes back, and then it's next to the other track. So there's a little short bridge underneath Australia Street, I think it's called. And then here we are at 2 tracks, once again, heading back towards Lidcombe. Now, if we wanted to go to Central, like certain train services do, like for example the Easter Show, we wouldn't go down the outside tracks, because those are the Aberters branch tracks that go to Lidcombe, as you can see. There's the Abertis branch, there's the Campsie to Flemington line, there's the main south line, there's the sprint platform, and there's Lidcombe station. No, if you're going to go to Central, you don't do that, you don't go that way. Well, first of all, we'll go back here. And you'll see here we go from the 2 tracks to 4. Instead, we're going to go down the central part of this line, and we're going to go take this link road all the way to the left here, where we will now fly over the other part of the Campsie to Flemington end of the line there, and we will travel around behind the Flemington stabling or marshalling yards and join on to the main south line here. Okay, so let's look at it on the map, despite it being slow. You can see here there's the main south line with the Flemington yard in the middle. You can see here the triangle junction. You can see the 4 tracks that turn to 2. You can see the Abertis branch V here to the left, and you can also see the Campsie to Flemington triangle junction in the middle of all of that too. Looks messy. Okay, so that's the Abertis branch. I've showed you how it joins on from Lidcombe, and I've showed you how it can return and go to Central, to Central via Flemington on the main south line. Now that's the first part of that. The second part is the Campsie to Flemington line. So here we are back at Lidcombe. Okay, I'm just going to lock this point because this is where we're going to continue our journey when I take it towards Central. Now the Campsie to Flemington line starts off the Abertis branch right here. So there it is. Those 2 tracks veer around to the right and cross underneath the main south line and head south. Now trains that are coming from Enfield down from via the Campsie to Flemington line will head up north, and if they're going to Penrith, will go to the left, and if they're heading to what would be the the northern line, so the northern line goes to Hornsby, then you will take the right, because from Strathfield to Central freight trains cannot travel, so there's no reason to make this train line link to the main south line. So I'll show that now. So if you're coming up from Campsie and you're going to go to Lidcombe, the train line veers to the left, joins onto the Abertis branch, where then you join onto the main south line. Now, if you're going to go to the northern line from here, you're going to travel around underneath the main south lines to the right. If you're not going to the Abertis branch, you don't cross to the left and head towards Olympic Park. You stay on this branch, this line, veer to the right, and then travel down this stretch underneath the return tracks or triangle junction of the Abertis branch linking to the main south line. You follow these 2 tracks from Campsie to Flemington line, and you'll notice that it completely bypasses the main south line. The reason for that is we don't need goods trains to travel on the main south line at this point, because there's just too much rail traffic to stick a freight train in there, and so they have their own tracks. And here we are at Flemington railway station with those 2 goods tracks beside the up main, down main, up suburban, down suburban. Right, let's go back to Lidcombe. And I've just gone and saved my location of Flemington, so I will just manually take us back to Lidcombe. So here we are at Lidcombe station. Now I'm going to proceed on through to Flemington station down the main south line. As we travel past the Abertis branch, we cross over the Campsie to Flemington line, and then we have a couple of crossovers here that shift between the suburban and mainline tracks, and then you can see we have a clear entrance from the mainline into the Flemington stabling and marshalling yards. You can see here that we have a very nice group of tracks and sheds, and a couple of stub tracks that continue over into this section of the triangle junction from Campsie to Flemington. Here's our train washing section, which is in this map a shed. Now we continue on down the main south, up the main south line, past the entrance to the Flemington stabling and marshalling yards, where we join on to the return road of the Abbotters branch that goes to Olympic Park. So this is if you're coming from Olympic Park to go to Central, or vice versa. And you'll also notice that the goods line is on the left, that goes to Campsie via the Campsie to Flemington line that I showed you just before. And we continue to Flemington station, where you can clearly see now we have 6 tracks. Past Flemington station we have the goods tracks here. Actually one of them ends and it just becomes 1, and the 4 tracks here continue on the main line as normal. And now we come into Homebush. Yes, it looks a little complicated at this point, but I'm going to explain to you how simple this is. Here at Homebush station, the goods line veers to the left. It disappears and heads onto the northern line. At Homebush station, we have our up main, down main, up suburban and down suburban train tracks, like as per usual. There they are, all 4 of them. We now have the addition of 2 more tracks called the local tracks, and that is up local and down local. Now, I've already kind of explained to you how the frequency of rail traffic works. Between Homebush and Central, we have even more trains, because more and more trains terminate along the line and return, so that those trains that terminate also have to return, which means there's twice as much rail traffic for all those returning trains, and so we need all those extra tracks too. The other thing is, people that are commuting from Central to, say, Newtown don't want to have to get a train that is going to be full of people going to the Blue Mountains. So the local tracks facilitate trains that serve the areas local to those tracks, which is anywhere between Homebush and Central. Now, of course, any trains that stop at those stations have the ability to continue past Homebush and join onto the suburban tracks, as you can see. So that's how that works. Now, we are at a big triangle junction here. In a way, it's a triangle junction, all thanks to this goods track, which veers around to the northern line. And what we're going to do is, these 6 tracks that we have, we travel towards Strathfield station. You'll see the northern line comes in on our left. Now, the northern line comes in at our left in 2 different ways. We have the relief tracks and the main tracks. Sorry, let me say that again. We have here up and down main and up and down suburban from the northern line. So as we come into Strathfield, the main south line and northern line join together, and you'll see that the up main and down main from the northern line join to the up main and down main of the main south line. But you'll also notice we have an additional track coming into Strathfield station, which is kind of like at Clyde, as a station that really just has trains stop at it from the northern line, not any other areas, just the northern line. And you'll see that because there's no way for a train to get to platform 1 at Strathfield from the main south line without using this crossover. So that's the main reason for platform 1. Okay, so here at Strathfield too, also the suburban line from the northern line joins, and you'll see that one of those tracks, the up suburban, has its own platform as well. The down suburban actually joins onto the down suburban of the main south line before it gets to the station, which means that trains at this platform here can either go to the northern line or stay on the main south line. So what we have here is platform 1, which is the relief platform coming from the northern line, up main, down main, up suburban, then we have up suburban, northern line, then down suburban / down suburban northern line, because it serves 2 purposes, and then we have up local and down local, which don't connect at all with the northern line. Okay, so past Strathfield, you'll notice that the relief platform coming from the Northern Line joins onto the up main. You'll also notice that the up suburban joins on the up suburban from the Northern Line joins after the station with the up suburban of the main South Line. So here we are back at 6 tracks: up main, up suburban, up local, down local, and a bunch of crossovers to link them all together. So here you go. Now beyond Strathfield railway station, it's strictly passenger service trains. We have here, I think it's Burwood. Yeah, it's Burwood. And now after this, you'll see that we have stations that are more for the local line more than anything, because they serve the local area. Here we have Croydon. Now Croydon has a platform on the down main, but it's never used, so it's strictly really just used on the suburban tracks and the local tracks. Alright, let's keep going. Okie dokie, here we are at Ashfield. You'll notice here that Ashfield has a loop. There's your loop right there. Now, the way the loop works is trains can terminate at Ashfield on the local line and then return back towards Central. But there's different configurations for the way that works. And once again, there is no platform on the main line. Again, if you're catching a train to the Blue Mountains, you're not going to want to stop at any of these stations. And trains that take workers from Central to the Blue Mountains are very important, because a lot of people in the Blue Mountains do not want to be on a train that stops at all these other stations, especially when most of those people on that specific service are going to the Blue Mountains, not anywhere else. Okay, so that's, I've already said it, so yeah. Let's continue on. You'll see here too that we have tracks, a platform that caters for the suburban tracks. Okay, so that's, trains can possibly stop there. None of these crossovers are right anymore. Some of them have been removed because they don't get used. If a train does not travel down a piece of track for more than 72 hours, the track is deemed needing to have a scaler or a locomotive to go down, because what happens is after 72 hours the track deteriorates and rail traffic becomes unreliable on that part of the track. So they've gotten rid of a lot of crossovers that don't get used very often. There's no point keeping them, in other words. If trains don't travel down them, there's no reason to have them, because they get rusty, they stop working, the copper or polymer fittings and everything are expensive to maintain, so they just get rid of them. Okie dokie. Yeah, so let's continue past all those crossovers. That's the same situation, but going the opposite way. And here we are at, I think it's Summer Hill. There it is. So that's Summer Hill. Notice we have an island platform that caters for the local line, but also one direction of the suburban line, the down direction. It's not really used ever. So the local tracks are the main tracks that use Summer Hill. So I got either the hiccups or something. I don't know what's going on with me. Here we are going over the Dulwich Hill to Rozelle line. Now it can be thought of as a line or a branch. The reason why it can be looked at as a line is it can be looked at as the Dulwich Hill to Darling Harbour line, because it joins on at Central, or it can be looked at as the Dulwich Hill to Rozelle branch, because the train line stops at Rozelle at a yard. So I like to think of it as the Dulwich Hill to Rozelle branch, because to go to Darling Harbour there's tracks that come off the branch line. Anyway, I'll show you that when I show you the Bankstown line. So past here we get to Lewisham railway station, similar to Summer Hill. Past Lewisham we get to Petersham. Again, very similar to Lewisham and Summer Hill. And then we get to Stanmore. Here's Stanmore railway station. It once again ditto. And past Stanmore railway station we come to Newtown railway station. And those that know the area of Newtown know there's a massive, huge bridge with shops and all sorts of things that goes over the railway here. And I didn't want to put that in because it would not really look like it fits in with the aesthetics. So what I've done is I've just put in the concrete structure of what could be. And you know what, that's assumable. You can assume a big bridge is going to go in. Well, people can assume whatever they want, but I've put this in because in real life there is a big bridge here. There's Newtown, and this one strictly serves only the local line. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Here we are at what a lot of people consider the most pointless railway station on the CityRail network, that or Bell. But this railway station is actually really, really important. A lot of people do use it. It's Macdonaldtown, and it's there. It's on the local line, and it serves just as much population as Newtown, Stanmore, Lewisham, or Petersham. So yes, it's very important we have that station. To the right here, you'll notice we have Macdonaldtown stabling yard, and that's so trains in off-peak times can be stabilised there. And as we come around the corner, you'll see the main the South Coast line join in, the Illawarra and South Coast line join into the main South line here. Let me load this map and I'll show you. Here is the main South line. Here is the South Coast line. So when we come around the bend here on the main South line, we have up main, up suburban, down suburban, up local, down local, and the link road that joins the Macdonaldtown yard to either the main South line or the end of the South Coast line, as you can see right here. Trains can leave the stabling yard and go onto the main, the South Coast line here, but they can't return down here because there's no crossover that allows trains to do reverse directional movements. So, so junction 1174, trains can leave on either one of these tracks and enter either the main South line and cross over here to get onto the up local, or cross over and go onto the what's known as the Illawarra local line. So here at this point, you'll see we have at Redfern Station. You'll see here it looks a little more clear. What we have here is the up main, up suburban, down suburban, up local, down local. Then we have two link roads that join the up Illawarra and down Illawarra local. And then here we have up Illawarra and down Illawarra. Okay, so further up here, you'll see we have a couple of train tracks that enter the main line here. The reason for that is back here, these tracks are titled Illawarra up and Illawarra down, but then just before here, we have them split to two tracks that take us underground and go underneath all of these tracks and come up as the main line. Come up to the main line here at Redfern. So the reason why we have that is you'll see very shortly. Here at Redfern Station, you will see that we have up main, up suburban, up local, down local, up Illawarra local, down Illawarra local, up Illawarra, and down Illawarra. So, and then we have a crossover there because we have an entrance into, let me get the name right, this part of the track, which is called hate to say this, but I can't remember what it's called, but it's another one of those maintenance and stabling facilities located next door to Channel 7, and it's right here. And to get to it on the main South line, you get to it from here, and trains can get to it from the up and down Illawarra line. Now, of course, there had to be another way to get there from the central, and you'll see here we have a tunnel that comes into the yard. And the way that works is if you're leaving this area and you want to go to Central Station, so Sydney Terminal, you'll come under Redfern Station and come up here and join on to the up main track. So let's go back to Redfern and then we'll continue on. Here we are, and it's getting very slow. We're at Redfern Station, and you'll see we have we're now in the Sydney controlled area, and the way that works is past here we have two things that happen. I showed you that trains could come up to the main line from the Illawarra tracks, and the reason why that happens is some of those trains want to terminate at Sydney Terminal. The entrance to Sydney Terminal is from the main line tracks, as you can see, and there is Sydney Terminal, right there. So that's Sydney Terminal, and to the right there we have Central Station, which goes into the city circle. I do excuse the slowness of the map, please excuse me with this. Okay, so here, just before we get into Sydney Terminal and Central Station, we have here on the main line, the two tracks coming in have to split. So now we have 4 tracks going into Sydney Terminal. You'll notice that the 2 tracks that are created from the main line also join to the suburban and local tracks of the main South Line. And this is how you get to them, using these creative junctions. And you also notice we're at 1300 junctions, 1400 I should say. So there you go. Now we come into Central Station, and when you see how this works, it's a bit crazy. I'm not going to explain it, just look up a signal diagram please. We have here on the left one of the platforms very similar to that in Rockwood Cemetery. We also have the train line, the Central to Rozelle train line that veers off to the left here and goes underneath Parramatta Road down towards Darling Harbour. And then here at Central, you'll see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 terminating platforms. Now, let's go back to the entrance of Sydney Yard. Here we are. Now you'll notice that the suburban and local tracks can bypass Sydney Terminal and go towards the city circle. The reason why the mainline tracks don't go to the city circle is they're the mainline tracks. They're designed for trains that are going to the Blue Mountains and for trains that might be going to the north coast via Strathfield, trains that are going to Bomaderry via by crossing underneath at Redfern Station. So if you leave Sydney Terminal, you'll travel to Redfern Station and then take these tracks here and come up underneath here and then start heading down the main South Line, the South Coast Line. So that's the reason why the main line tracks don't go to the city circle, because it's trains that are going to the Blue Mountains or trains coming from the Blue Mountains. They're not necessarily going to go into Sydney Terminal. You may get a train that does that in peak hour, but it's more better that the mainline tracks go straight to Sydney Terminal, because diesel trains and terminating services can stop there without congesting the entrances to the city circle. Now the local track also goes to the Central Station, and the local Illawarra tracks, those 4 tracks go straight to Central Station as well. So here we are. We now have 8 tracks going to Central Station. We have up suburban, down suburban, up local, down local, up Illawarra local, down Illawarra local, and up Illawarra and down Illawarra. Now the up directional tracks, they stay on the 2nd story, and the down directional tracks stay underneath on the bottom story. And then we come into Central Station here. Okie dokie, this is going to be another one to explain. Here at Central Station we have all the platforms I was explaining that travel down, but now the names of them all change. Here we go. This is how it works. At Central Station, you have Central, up suburban, up local. Alright, you then have down directional tracks, which are... I haven't, you know what? I haven't even finished them yet. So let's just look at this here. We have Central, up suburban, which is the main south line up suburban, up local, again, the ones from Newtown, the up local tracks from Homebush. Then we have a down directional track, a down directional track. We then have up Illawarra local and central airport line. And the reason why that is different to anything we've seen is it comes from here, which goes to Mascot and Domestic Airport and all of that. So that's what they title that. Now as we travel across here, we are going to go into the city circle. So before we go into the city circle, we have to a couple of things happen. All those tracks shift necessarily to what they're going to be going into the city circle. Here on the far left we have what we call here the North Shore line, so this takes us over the Harbour Bridge. We then have the city outer train track that goes in, and then from here we have, I can only remember off the names of the signals, coming out of here we have Sydney's train. Okay, this doesn't explain anything. Anyway, cut a long story short, the ones here on the right correspond to the inner and outer of the city circle. So 4 of these tracks go in a circle, 2 of them go to the North Shore. That's how that works. Okay, so that's the main south line and main western line complete. And now I'm going to show you the main south line as far as I've got to Minto. So what I might do is just load my map and take us physically to that location, which will be here. So here we are at Granville. So this is Granville station. Now if you're going to head to Liverpool, you'll head away from Granville towards the Blue Mountains and veer to the left here. And now you're on the main south line, you're still on the main south line. And those 4 tracks, 2 of them come from Harris Park, 2 of them come from Granville, become 2 tracks. And here at Marylands we have a siding. And it joins here at Marylands railway station. Now, the names of the tracks have changed over the years with the addition of different lines and branches. So this is actually the old Old South line, or the old main south line. I think that's what I said. Here's the next station, Guildford. So we travel past Guildford. Here's Yennora, and we have the Melbourne to Queensland stabling yard, not for trains but actually for products, most of them of which people buy from overseas. So here we are. This is just a beautiful little link road that leads to another warehouse at the back of Yennora. There it is, container yard, and here it joins on to the old main south line. So there you go. There's a crossover. Oh. Now we head further south. Here we are at Yennora railway station. Yeah, I might just have a drink. What have I got? I've got some iced tea. So there's Yennora. Keep going. Next station, I believe, is Fairfield. Yep, there's Fairfield. And you'll see we have a crossover here. Some trains might terminate at Fairfield station and return towards Granville. And so it is very important that trains can move across and travel in the right direction, on the right track. Past Fairfield station, we get to this one, Canley Vale, and from Canley Vale we now join on to heading south the Bankstown line. God, I hope that's what it's called. But anyway, what it is it's the train line that joins here to Sefton, Cabramatta to Sefton. Here's Cabramatta. Notice we have a new track, so we have 2 tracks that come in to the old main south line. One's an up track, obviously, one's a down directional track. And the other one here is the Southern Freight Railway, SSFL I think they call it. So it doesn't have any connection with the passenger services, so it just bypasses all the stations. So we head south, and from Cabramatta it gets really beautiful. This stuff I've only made in the last couple of months. And here we are at Warwick Farm, beautiful station, little tiny village. Can't remember, I was listening to Soulfly when I was doing this. I absolutely love the band. It kind of inspires me to make things really pretty. See? Pretty. Okay, so past Warwick Farm, notice we have a couple more platforms and tracks, so now we've got 4, and it's all because of Liverpool Railway Station. So here at Liverpool Station, you'll see we have, let me just turn on my markers. You'll see here we have the up direction for the main south, the Liverpool Transit Road main south, and another up directional track, and then we have 2 down directional tracks. It's all changing quite a bit now with the new design of the Glenfield to there's a brand new rail line branch near Glenfield now, so it's all changed. Anyway, we're back to 2 tracks, and we have the Southern Freight Railway, or whatever it's called, on the left there. Now we travel past Liverpool, and you'll see here that the freight line now duplicates into a loop, so now freight trains can overtake each other in opposite directions. And you'll see the main south line underneath here. And the reason why the freight line now moves on to the right is East Hills Railway line joins in too, as well. Now just quickly before I continue on, I'll just save my location. I haven't done anything yet with this, so it just stops right there. That's the East Hills line. It joins that to Wooleye Creek. So let's go back to this marker, and now there's the main south line, the freight line on the right, and the East Hills line joining right here. Now here's Glenfield Railway Station. Beyond Glenfield Railway Station, you'll see we also have the Leppington branch line. So that's Glenfield to Leppington branch. So the Leppington branch line starts at Glenfield Station, and it doesn't have dedicated platforms. You'll see that it joins on from the end of these platforms like this. And as we go around, you'll see it veer to the right. It crosses over the freight tracks. So there's the freight tracks there. Now I'm going to take you for a ride down the brand new Leppington branch. It's got another name, but its title is Leppington branch. So down the Leppington branch, you'll see we have double colour signalling, and we keep going down the Leppington branch, heading towards Badgerys Creek and the Blue Mountains, and we get to a very, very small town called Edmondson Park. So there's Edmondson Park, little town. Past Edmondson Park we continue, and we cross Camden Valley Way, and here we come to Leppington. Now the reason why there's 4 tracks at Leppington is simply because they're ready to expand. They're ready to build the train line further out, and Leppington is also the end of the line for passenger services. So Leppington's not really a big town yet, so actually pretty much what I'm showing you here is how big it is in real life. Just leaning back in my chair. Okay, so past Leppington, trains can move ahead into the Leppington stabling facility, and look at all of those tracks. They really thought hard before building all of this, and when I say they thought hard, they just wanted to put lots of tracks in to store trains. So there you go, that's the Leppington stabling facility, and that's the end of the line. If you look at the map, you'll see that where we're positioned with Leppington Station is pretty much equivalent to 7 Hills. So we're in line with about Seven Hills and Richmond in the latitude, north-south. So yeah, anyway, I'm getting a bit tired, but what I'm going to do is, I still got a fair bit to show you. Let's go back to Glenfield. We're travelling further down the main south line, with the freight line now on our right. Here we are at Macquarie Fields, and past Macquarie Fields we get a little further down the line and we reach Ingleburn. Here's Ingleburn, and then past Ingleburn we get towards Minto. Now I haven't done Minto yet, so this is as far as I've gotten down the main south line. So let's go back to Cabramatta. Let me see if I've got it here. Here's me. Oh, well, that was a good guess. Here we are at Cabramatta. So this is heading down towards Glenfield and Liverpool, and there's the line coming in at Cabramatta from Bankstown. So we're going to go from Cabramatta and head around onto the line here alongside the freight line, which is on our right. Now we're heading towards Central once again, and you'll see that we get to this station. I don't know these stations very well. Carramar. Past Carramar, we have a loop which allows terminating services at Carramar to return back to Bankstown. And the freight line on the right, you'll see we have an outer home signal, because at Leightonfield we have a small yard and loop for freight services to allow other trains to overtake before entering Chullora. So here is that's not Leightonfield, is it? No, this is Villawood. Villawood, beautiful place. A lot of British settlers in this country stayed in hostels in Villawood in 73. There was a big migration thing. Here's Leightonfield, and here's the yard on the right. There's Leightonfield, and here's the sidings on the right with a little tiny container yard. And beyond Leightonfield, you can see the freight line continues as well. Now here we are at Chester Hill, and then the last station on the line before we hit the tri-junction at Chullora is Sefton. So here is Sefton. Now there's two triangle junctions here. I told you from Lidcombe to Regent's Park there is a small line. Now I can show you that line. This triangle junction is part of the Regent's Park to Lidcombe line. So here we are, 4 tracks turn to 2. The second 2 tracks veer to the left and join on to the Bankstown line. The other Bankstown line follows to where we were just before. And now we can follow that triangle junction back around to Regent's Park. Here is Regent's Park. And if we travel further, we'll get to Birong or Biriong. Here's Birong. And if we travel further, you'll see that we get to Lidcombe Station, where trains may terminate at platform 5. Ta-da! There we are. See? So let's go back to the Bankstown line where it turns, where it has the triangle junction. And I'm going to face the east, where we were before I followed us down that giant fork. So here we are. So we're on the Bankstown line. Instead of heading to Lidcombe via Regent's Park, we're going to veer to the right with the freight line, and we're going to come up to this junction. Now the freight line travels into Chullora, where these 2 tracks also travel, but the Bankstown line veers to the right. So I'm going to show you the Bankstown line, the rest of it. It veers to the right, and now we're down to 2 tracks. Now here we are at our next station, which is Birong. Wow, I got it wrong. I can't remember what the station is next to Regent's Park, but this one is Birong. And further down we get to this station, Yaguna, and then further around we veer around to the east we get to Bankstown. So here you'll notice we have a stabling track in the middle for passenger trains returning back towards Central via Dulwich Hill. So here we are at Bankstown, and then there's also a crossover which allows trains to return back from the down direction track. So here we are at Bankstown, so we'll keep going. Here's our next station, which is Punch Bowl. Interesting name. And past Punch Bowl we get to this station, which is Wiley Park. Very pretty. And then after Wiley Park we have Leppington. I hear a lot of weird things about Leppington. And past Leppington we have Belmore, wonderful drum shop in Belmore, Dream Music. And then past there, you'll see here on the left, this is the other end of the Flemington to Campsie railway line. So what I'll do is I won't take you down it yet because it's actually part of a freight line. I'll show you the freight line afterwards. So, and you can see it runs alongside the Bankstown line here. Here is Campsie. So we travel past Campsie and we get to, I think it's the Georges River, I can't remember, but anyway, we cross here and we get to this station, which is Canterbury. And past Canterbury we get to Hurlstone Park. Past Hurlstone Park we get to Dulwich Hill. Now here is a triangle junction on the goods line, and you'll see that it is the triangle junction that joins onto the Dulwich Hill to Rozelle branch. So let's continue. Here is Dulwich Hill. Now I hate what they've done to the former Rozelle line, because what they've done is they've turned it into a light rail, which means it has no direct connection with the goods line or any train line for that matter, and it's strictly light rail. I think they should have made it a train line, but whatever, they want to be pricks and do it that way. Do it that way. Here's Dulwich Hill. We continue past Dulwich Hill and we get to this station here, which is Marrickville. Now at Marrickville you'll notice that the goods line veers to the left. Let's disregard that and follow the Bankstown line here, past Marrickville alongside the goods line, and you'll see that the Bankstown line veers around to the north and joins onto the main south line at Sydenham. You'll see we go underneath the Port Botany railway line tracks. What I'm going to do is, we're at the end of the Bankstown line, but I'll also show you that these tracks here also enter the goods line as well. What I mean by that is, if you look at this map, right, let's not look at the map, it doesn't really help, but the Port Botany train line, if we follow that back towards the west, you'll see that it comes around and joins onto the goods line tracks right here. So here's Marrickville station and here's the goods line tracks. If you follow the goods line's tracks and want to head to Sydenham, you actually have to cross underneath the Bankstown line. So if you cross underneath the Bankstown line, you enter a triangle junction where you can head to the South Coast line and head south, or you can head to the South Coast line and head north. As you can see, it joins on to the Bankstown line for a split second, and now it's back at Sydenham. So what I'll do is I'll do that again. Here's Port Botany tracks. They go over the main south line, they come across here, they come alongside the Bankstown line where the goods line that joins to the triangle junction goes underneath and joins on here and heads to Dulwich Hill. Okay, so that's how that works. The next thing I'm going to show you just quickly is the part of the main south line, sorry, the South Coast line that I have done, which is only as far as here. So here's the other end of that giant triangle junction for the goods line. So if we follow it this way, we can go to the main south line to the right, which is like a big massive loop, or we can go to the left and head towards Marrickville on the goods line and cross underneath the Bankstown tracks like that. But let's go up the main south line, the south coast line. If we travel up the south coast line towards central, we get to Sydenham station, where it opens up to 6 tracks. The reason for that is the Bankstown line has its own 2 tracks on the left here, and if you continue past, it goes back to 4. And past Sydenham station, we arrive at this one, Erskineville, I think it is, no, St Peters, and then past St Peters, Erskineville. Here at Erskineville, trains can go to the underground Redfern platforms by veering to the right here, or they can go to Redfern via the surface platforms and travel down here via the Illawarra local or Illawarra tracks. As we come around, you'll see we join to the main south line, and if we want to go to Sydney Terminal, we take this tunnel underneath here, which then takes us underneath all the train tracks and brings us up to Redfern Station at platforms 1 and 2. So that is the part of the main south line, the south coast line that I have done. Alright, now the next thing I'm going to show you is the goods railway line that goes through Enfield and Chullora, and it's all connected. So what I'll do is I'll take us to Sydenham once again. I'm just moving the mouse down. So here is Sydenham. We must go to Marrickville and start our journey from Marrickville. Here is Marrickville, and here is where I'm going to lock my position. Now let's first of all go to Port Botany. Port Botany is a goods railway line, and to do that, to go to Port Botany, we are going to go on the right side of these tracks here, as you can see. We then go around to the left and cross over the south coast line right here. And now I have put this beautiful sign here, Botany goods line made by Mano, which is me. And we keep going and we get to Cooks River. And here at Cooks River, we have a privately owned Cooks River Yard, which here it is. It's a big container yard. I had to make it nice because this is kind of usable for missions for train drivers. So there's Cooks River Yard. Past Cooks River Yard, the darker tracks are sidings, I think. I can't remember what I did. But past here, just before Cooks River, we have some sidings and a little tiny factory thing here. Oh, look at that. I don't know why that's sitting there. Maybe I'll just delete that right now. Oh, that's a bit weird. Sorry that had to be in the video. Alright, so we continue down the Port Botany goods line and we go around the back of the airport, where it opens up to 3 tracks. One of them is a loop. And now we are back to 2 tracks, and very suddenly we go to 1 bi-directional track. Okay, so there we go. And around we travel all the way to the harbour. Okay, so here we are. We go now to 3 tracks, back to 2. So one of those was a loop, my mistake. And those points are locked. So it means that this part of the track is actually not is not part of the network of trains anymore, which means it's been written off. So these points are locked, meaning trains cannot actually get to this track without special track movements. Okay, so here we go. We travel down here, and you'll see here we have, I think it's Kellogg's factory, or Kellogg's own the factory, which is there with a little like siding, privately owned siding. And we continue down the Port Botany goods line, and you'll see we now have 4 tracks. And on the very left here, you'll see we come into Patrick Port Link, made by Mano. So this is another part of the privately owned train line, and I didn't know what it was, so I just made it something really simple. I put 1 container there, a little tiny shed, and some loft cabins, and a station master house. And then if you continue on the Port Botany goods line and veer to the right, we're very close to the water now. We have here Port Botany. Okay, it's going to get very slow now because there's a lot of stuff. Now there's 3 sections. We can go to the left to this container yard. How cool does that look? It took me a while to figure out how to make it look artistic. We can go around to the right hand side, which is where there's lots of ships. Yeah, obviously here we have these giant massive things, train looking things here to load up ships, but we don't need all that train track on both sides, so I've just gone and put them on one side. You can see here that it's all monitored by shunting movements. That's the second one, and then the third one to show you is the one at the end, which we can follow the train tracks down, and it's a big container yard. And there it is. So that's it. That's the Port Botany goods line. Back to Marrickville. Alright, so now we're at the goods line, and I've showed you the Port Botany goods line, so now we're going to instead go to the stabling facility for trains, so now we're going to cross underneath on the goods line towards, instead of going to Port Botany on this track, we're going to go underneath and enter a big tri-junction. In the middle of the tri-junction we have a stabling and maintenance centre right here. That's all I wanted to show you there. Now we're back at Marrickville. We're going to turn the camera around and follow the goods line to Dulwich Hill. Here's Dulwich Hill. This next part that I show you is illustrating a little bit of the history of the freight line that we've had in New South Wales that lay dormant for very many years until they rebirthed it as the light rail. It's a tri-junction. It begins as a triangle junction and it veers to the right, and you'll see that the one veering to the left goes down to the other end, and we go to 2 tracks. Now we are heading towards the M4, the main south line. There's a few things on this line that are very, very important. So you can see here we come up to a factory on the left here, and past that factory we cross underneath the main south line. We've seen that before, about an hour ago. And then we keep going, and now we're heading up towards White Bay and Rozelle. And the train line gets very close to the water up here, which is very close to the Anzac Bridge, or Gladesville Bridge. And here we now go underground for a short amount of time, where we come up here at a small yard. So here we go. Now listen, this is where it gets a bit interesting. To the right we have the Rozelle to Central train line, which is the current light rail line, and it goes to Darling Harbour. On the left here we go to Rozelle. Well, we're in Rozelle, so this is the Rozelle yard. There's a retired yard, another yard, and then beyond that we get to White Bay Power Station and White Bay Container Centre. So now there's trucks and everything. There's no point having all of this when you can do it all at Port Botany. So I don't like to see things die. I like to see things live. So I've kept this all alive. So there's White Bay Power Station. There's the Rozelle yard. And now I'll just quickly show you the lack of design I've put in to the Darling Harbour Central Rozelle line. So if we take this part of the track, which is now currently the light rail, we veer around near here, near the harbour, around to the left. The back end of Sydney is around here, and you'll see here that we disappear very quickly. And now I'm just going to take you around where it'll soon become track. We're very close to Darling Harbour now. And here we are at Darling Harbour, which is also known as the tourist area of Sydney. Now, this doesn't exist anymore. This used to be train lines, but then they turned it into tourist area. So here is the Darling Harbour yards, right here. This is also known as Darling Harbour. The Piermont Bridge, or whatever it's called, is right there. The entertainment centre used to be right here. Yeah, so anyway, and then to get there, we go past the Powerhouse Museum, and underneath Parramatta Road, and guess what? We're back at Central. Who would have thought? So that's that section. So now let's go back to Marrickville. Here we are at Marrickville again. We're going to go down the goods line and travel towards Dulwich Hill. Instead of taking the Dulwich Hill to Rozelle line branch, we're going to travel down the goods line until we get to Campsie, which is where it veers off the Bankstown line and heads north. I think that's the Georges River, I could be wrong. Okay, so here's Campsie. Campsie is the only station that actually has a platform that is on the goods line. And you can see here, these trucks on the right of the goods line, and so I've put a couple of haystacks, just for no reason. Then beyond Campsie, you'll see that the goods line veers off to the north, whilst Bankstown line veers off to the left, towards Bankstown. So as we veer this way, north, and we enter this unelectrified, but still signalled freight line, we come around the Campsie to Flemington freight line, and this is where it gets very, very stretched out. We have all this real estate here, but only this many tracks. All these tracks. So there's the line there, right there. And it comes up here, like that, and comes around even more north. And you'll see here, we have back to 2 tracks. If we head south from Enfield, you'll see we have a single track that goes around the back end of the Enfield marshalling yards and joins on down here near Campsie. Okay, so let's do that loop again just so you can see. So instead of following the dirt track, we're going to stay on the Campsie to Flemington line. This used to be another yard thing here. I've kind of made it look like it was there but got scrapped because I didn't want to build it, because I didn't really have the signal diagrams. I have a signal diagram for everything else except that. So now we veer up here around the top side of Enfield marshalling yards, and suddenly we are here at the top of Enfield at the northern section of the Enfield marshalling yards, where we are now back to 2 tracks. Here we have a tri-junction that allows trains to travel off the Campsie to Flemington line onto the Enfield Junction. So this is known as Enfield Junction to Sefton. So if we travel down there, we'll get to Sefton. I'll show you that in a sec. So let's just lock our position here. We don't have to go back to Marrickville, so that's fine. So yeah, from here we can travel further from Campsie to Flemington line, further north past the golf course, which I haven't put in. I thought I did, but I didn't. And you'll see that we eventually come up underneath the main south line at Flemington. And guess what? Here we are. So if we're going to finish this journey on this line, we will veer to the left and join here at the Abboters branch. Ta-da! There you go. Now back to Enfield Junction. If we're going to go to Chullora, then we have to take one of these forks. So we're going to go west. You'll see here we have a bunch of stuff at Chalora. Lots of couriers and trucks and sheds there now these days, but not so much of the rail industry. You'll see that it all sort of hides away here in the bush with giant shunting necks. Here's a container yard, very amateur, well, small looking container yard. Some more shunting necks with a very, very cool looking rail buffer. And here we are back at the Enfield Junction to Sefton Railway. So there you go, that's to the left, the Chalora marshalling yard. And now if we keep going, we will get closer to Sefton. There's our sidings for the freight trains that begin their journey all the way to Macarthur down the Southern Freight Railway line. Okay, so here we go. We come around these bends and there's the end of the Chalora sidings. And if we travel a little further, you'll see that we get to so what this is here is the track on the left now becomes the Southern Freight Railway line. The track on the right enters the triangle junction of the Bankstown line. Well, actually, it's not a triangle junction, is it? It's just a turn off the Bankstown line onto the train line. But the Southern Freight Railway line is what we are going to be looking at for the next few minutes. It travels underneath the Bankstown line here, comes around the back, and then travels around to Sefton. So there you go. That's how that works. Let me just have a look at my map. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us into the game. So into the drive mode. It'll just take a sec to load. Oop, hold on, won't save because I've done stuff, so let me just do that again and overwrite the file. Yes, I'm overwriting the master file. You guys get to witness that. It's still loading, give it a sec. Oh, I'm still yawning. It's about 8 o'clock now. This video is for you guys. Hopefully you guys watched the whole thing. I didn't think it would take this long. But you know what, there's a lot of stuff to talk about with the Metropolitan Rail Network, that's for sure. So here we are. Now I only did this so I could show you my map. Here we go. There's Emu Plains, I've showed you that. All the way through to some areas where we have the Ropes Creek branch. And I've showed you all the way through to Blacktown, where I've showed you also the Richmond branch. And we've followed Blacktown all the way through to Granville, which now you can see the big triangle junction, which is the whole western line to Emu Plains. I've showed you the main south line to Clyde, and then showed you the Carlingford branch and the Sandown branch from Rosehill. And then I've showed you Clyde Marshalling Yards, Auburn Maintenance Facility, Auburn Station, and down to Lidcombe. From Lidcombe I showed you guys the Abattoirs branch right there, coming around and heading up north to Olympic Park. I also showed you guys this section of the Campsie to Flemington railway line, which comes across like this. And then I showed you the Flemington Stabling and Maintenance Facility. From there, we looked all the way down to where the Northern Line joins in to Strathfield. I didn't show you anywhere further than that because that's as far as I've done. And I showed you the main South Line where there's no freight trains all the way through to here, past McDonald Town, where the South Coast Line joins. I showed you all the way to Central Station, where I showed you the different sections of Sydney Yard and also the tracks that lead to the city circle. From there I showed you guys the south coast line all the way down to Sydenham, and also from here I showed you guys the Botany goods line all the way down to Port Botany. I also showed you guys the section of the track, the Bankstown section, which is from Sydenham all the way through to Bankstown, and then all the way through to Sefton, and then all the way through to Cabramatta. And then I showed you guys the freight line in the middle of all of this, which is the Enfield junction to Sefton, the Campsie to Flemington line, the Lidcombe to Regent's Park line. Berrilla was the name of the station that I was thinking of, which is on the Lidcombe to Sefton or Regent's Park line. Berrilla. Byron is on the Bankstown line. And I also showed you guys too the main south line from Granville all the way down through to Yennora, where I showed you guys the Yennora Distribution Park. From there I showed you guys all the way down to Liverpool, and further onwards to Glenfield. I also showed you guys the stub that I've made of the Eastern Suburbs line, East Hills line, which I've only done that far. And I showed you guys as much down to Minto, which is where I'm up to. You guys have seen now, I've showed you guys the Leppington branch line, which comes out here. Here's how close it is to the Blue Mountains. If the Blue Mountains is here, Leppington's here. Northern Road is around here, straight down there, and there's Richmond there. You can see it there. Now I'm looking at this map and I don't think I have missed anything. Oh yeah, I showed you guys the Rozelle branch line, which is Dulwich Hill to Rozelle. So that comes up here, crosses underneath the main south line, comes around to Rozelle. I showed you guys the part of the track that's yet to be finished, which is the Rozelle Yard to Central train line. I showed you guys Darling Harbour and what the train lines I've put in there are from like 50 years ago. Alright, let's have a look. What haven't I showed you guys? That's it. That's the whole thing. So basically I started the map in 2012 here at around Emu Plains, and I'm currently down here at Minto in 2016. I'm going to package up this map and you guys can mess around with it, and I am pretty much done with this video. So yeah, shoot me an email. Talk to you guys soon.